Today we're going to talk about cascading style sheets. Up until now we've dealt only with HTML and we haven't really done much formatting to our pages. We've just learned about ways to enclose our content in HTML tags and display it on a basic web page. Now we're going to talk about CSS, and CSS is what we use to format our web pages. There's a lot of advantages to using CSS. It helps us create greater consistency in our web pages. We apply the same CSS code to all of our pages. When we want to change the theme of our whole site, we can just change the CSS file. And I'm going to give you a demonstration of that right now. Switch over to our web browser. And then from my Mr. Geiger site, we can go down to web resources, and I have a link there to a place called the CSS Zen Garden. Okay. CSS Zen Garden is a website that's designed just to demonstrate the power of CSS. And the one thing I want you to notice when this comes up, I want you to look at some of the words here. A demonstration of what can be accomplished through CSS-based design. Select any style sheet from the list to load it into this page. Okay. So you look here, our HTML document contains things like this paragraph and heading for the road to enlightenment. And then it's got some little poetic prose here. Littering a dark and dreary road lay the past relics of browser-specific tags, incompatible document object models, and broken CSS support with abandoned browsers. Okay, so we're going to look at this. We have another paragraph or heading here. So what is this all about? And some information down there. Paragraphs on participation benefits and requirements. Now I want to go over here to the right, and I want to pick one of these other designs. They've got links to these here. I'm going to click on Steel, and this one comes down. And I want you to notice something. The road to enlightenment, littering a dark and dreary road, lay the past relics of browser-specific tags. Over here, so what is this about? All those elements that we saw on the other page are also on this page. We have a selected design over here, and you can see the little animations that are happening. All this is done. All this formatting is done on the exact same web page, the exact same HTML code. If I right-click on this page and say View Page Source, it will show me the HTML code for this site. Okay, and if you look at this code, they've got a little message in here in their notes about, feel free to look at their code so you can see how they did things. But you can see the HTML code in here on this page. Now let me go back to the original page, and let's pick apothecary. That's another theme. And we still see the same headings, CSS Zen Garden, the beauty of CSS, the road to enlightenment, littering a dark and dreary road, etc. Exact same HTML file. If I right click and say View Page Source, it's the exact same file we saw in the other page, but it looks completely different. And that is the power of cascading style sheets. The idea that we can separate the presentation of our content, what it looks like, from the content itself. And that creates a lot of power for us in our ability to take our content and format it in different ways. Maybe we want to update our website for a new theme to reach a different audience. We don't have to go in and edit all of our HTML code. We can leave our content there and just change how it's displayed, create new environments. That also makes the code easier to modify. So now instead of changing formatting on every page individually, we can change our code all in one spot. And we've talked before in programming that's always our goal, is when we want to make a change to anything in coding, whether it's programming, whether it's websites, or whether it's database, our goal is that we change it once in one spot only and not have to find all the occurrences of that same code. We look out for repetitious code. We do not want repetitious code. And it gives us a lot of flexibility in our formatting. So a little history of it. CSS started in 1996. When I first started doing web pages, we didn't have CSS. All of our formatting occurred in the HTML. In 1996, they came out with the first version of CSS that let us do some basic things. We could set font sizes. We could align text center, left or right. We can do some margins and some background and foreground colors, both for our page and our text. Okay. And then a couple years later, in 1998, came a CSS version 2 that included the ability to create different style sheets for the different media. So if somebody was going to print your page out, you can actually have a different style sheet so that the printed page comes out looking different than the page on the monitor. And we can still do that. We can change the appearance of the page depending on what people are viewing it in. And then 2005 came CSS 3, and that gave us some really powerful tools. Like drop shadows and web fonts, so we don't have to use people's built-in fonts on their computers, and we'll talk about that later. We could also do semi-transparent colors, box outlines, rotating page elements, and you saw a few of those things back on the Zen Garden when I had that one that we had the boxes that dropped down when you hovered over them, and all kinds of cool features that we can add now. In the next video, we're going to talk about what a style rule is and how we use it.